What's up, everybody? I'm Clayton. Welcome back to my movie review channel. And today we are taking a look at Mission Impossible 6 Fallout. Yes, this is the next MI movie in the MI series that we're doing. If you're new to my channel, we're checking out all the Mission Impossible films, reviewing them, giving my thoughts and my rating on each one. So let's get right into Fallout Part 6, released in 2018, directed by Christopher McQuarrie, and starring your typical MI cast. You got Tom Cruise coming back as Ethan Hunt. You got Simon Pegg coming back as Benji. Ving Rhames coming back as Luther. Rebecca Ferguson coming back as Ilsa. You even got, for the first time in an MI movie, a returning antagonist from the previous film coming back. Sean Harris comes back to play Solomon Lane again in this film. So the typical MI cast, even Alec Baldwin is returning in this one as Hunley. There is one exception, and that is Jeremy Renner is not in this one. And that's unfortunate because he really is one of my favorite characters in this MI franchise. So, and it was noticeable not having him there because, like I said, he's one of my favorite characters in this franchise. I love Jeremy Renner as an actor. He's one of those actors that, for me, always is going to enhance my viewing experience with the film. Anything that I see him in, it enhances my viewing experience. Regardless if I like the movie or not, if he's in it, it's going to make me at least enjoy the movie a little bit more. So him not being in this one does hurt a little bit. But we'll get into the negatives and positives and all that stuff. But I do got to say, seeing this one in theaters was pretty awesome. It was pretty cool. I had a good theatrical experience with this movie. I enjoyed this movie. Seen it a couple times since, so my thoughts on it have changed a little bit. And I'll get into why and how they've changed. But this was an MI movie that was really cool to see in the theaters and gave me a really high viewing experience, seeing it in on the big screen. So I think a lot of these MI movies were meant to be seen on the big screen. So yeah, that definitely helps with the viewing experience. But yeah, let's get into starting first with the positives of this film, and then we'll get into the negatives. So positives with MI6 for me personally, the action was awesome in this movie. They had some really cool choreographed action scenes where, you know, there's the jump scene, the airborne scene where Cruise and Henry Cavill, who's a new character in this one, he plays Walker, who's like this assassin hitman type guy, a villain antagonist in this film. The two of them jump out of a plane, and the way that they filmed that scene was really cool. There's always going to be a cool car scene or bike scene in a Mission Impossible film. This one's no exception. Some cool driving sequences there. A lot of cars being crashed, bike scenes, all that stuff. Everything you would typically have in an MI movie is in this one. In the third act, there's a really awesome helicopter scene where Tom Cruise performing his own stunt again, hanging off this rope from a helicopter, and there's just some amazing shots in that sequence, in the helicopter sequence in the third act. Really cool scenes with him hanging from a mountain. Just some awesome action scenes in this film. Some great action set pieces as well, and a lot of on set, on location shooting and filming in this one. So I really like the cinematography, the camera work, and the camera shots in here were really cool. I love the score in this one as well. I thought the score may be my favorite score of the MI series so far. Really enjoyed the score in this one. I think they really stepped it up again in this one, and kept improving the score. So really enjoyed that one as well. Very effective. It felt it and sounded almost like a Hans Zimmer score in this movie. Just one of those really powerful, raw, and effective scores. So really enjoyed that one as well. I also liked, and what this is one of the things that the MI movies have done is give their side characters development, and in this one they give Julia development. The character of Julia, who was Tom Cruise's ex-wife, they give her another layer to that character. She's now married. She's moved on from Ethan. She's married. She's settled down in her career. She's happy, and they kind of develop that character a little more. And I just like how they bring some of these side characters back and give them development, because a lot of movie franchises don't do that with their supporting characters, side characters. They don't give them real character development or character arcs. They really just kind of focus on their lead guy. But here we get character development from a returning character in Julia, and I like that they did that. They didn't have to, but they wanted to just kind of finish off that character and give her a little bit more of an arc and develop her a little bit more, and I like that they did that. So that was another positive for me. And then the acting, I will say one performance that stood out for me in this one was Henry Cavill as Walker. I really liked him in this movie. I thought he was entertaining. I thought that he brought something to that character that was intense. It was when he was on screen, and I felt that kind of intimidation factor from Cavill. I thought that and felt that he was bringing something special to that character. I wanted more of that character, and that's always a good thing. And that's always good acting when the performance is not enough. Like, you want more of that character, and that's how I felt with Cavill in this movie. I thought he did a really good job with that character. So I liked his performance as well. I will also say I think this movie has the best single fight scene of any of the MI movies so far. The fight scene in the first act in the bathroom was incredible. That was a great fight scene, and the way that it was shot, I love the white that they used there. So there's no colored background. You're seeing everything. The actors are in darker colors, white background, white setting. It looked really good. It was choreographed amazing. It was shot amazing. Love that fight scene. Probably my favorite fight scene so far in the series. So that was another standout and positive for me in this film. So yeah, all of those are strong positives for me for MI6. Moving on into my negatives with this film. I do have a few negatives here. One of them for me is I feel like, for me personally, this is when the MI series started to feel repetitious. Now, I know you might be saying, well, you could make that claim from movie 2 or movie 3, because all of them are essentially the same thing, right? Ethan Hunt gets a new mission that's seemingly impossible to achieve, and then he somehow achieves the mission. But in the first 5 movies, I felt like there was something there that held that repetitive feeling back. There was either good characters along the way, good humor, good action, character development for some of the lead characters. There was always something there to kind of keep that repetitious feeling at bay, because subconsciously you know that it's repetitive. The plot is repetitive. The story is repetitive. You know that, but you don't want to feel that in the script. You don't want to feel that in the story. You want to feel like there's something new in the film, and I didn't get that with this movie. This was the first one that I felt the repetition. I felt like, okay, this is really just the same thing we've been doing for 5 movies now. It's another mission that they get that it's said to be impossible to achieve, and you know somehow Ethan is going to figure out how to solve the impossible mission and get the job done. There was just nothing new. There was nothing new that was brought to the table in this film. I don't think any of the main characters had any type of character development or any type of character arc. We didn't learn anything new about Ethan that we didn't already know. We didn't learn anything new about Benji. We didn't learn anything new about Luther. We didn't learn anything new about Ilsa. I think, she was essentially just a rehash of who she was in MI5. Like, they really didn't do anything new with her. We knew that she had feelings for Ethan. We knew that she wasn't going to kill Ethan. We knew that she was eventually going to side with him. It was very predictable because it was repeating the same beats from the prior movies. So, yeah. I felt that with this movie. I felt like it was just repeating the same thing with different locations and some different, different places for them to go. You even have the same antagonist coming back. And we didn't learn anything new about Solomon Lane either. I mean, we knew he was a dangerous guy. We knew he was smart. We knew he was cunning. We knew he was a threat. Like, there was no development or arc for any of the lead characters in this film. It was just repetitive. The plot was repetitive. The script was repetitive. The characters were repetitive. There was just nothing new brought to the table in this one. And it stood out. And I felt it in this film. And you don't want to feel the repetitiveness in a series like this. So, and I felt it. Also, I think the runtime could have been shortened, could have been condensed. I think there was some filler in here, especially with like some of the dialogue. Like, you had the scene where Luther is talking to Ilsa about Ethan and how there's only been 2 women that he's cared about in his life. What was that scene for? Why did we need that scene? What did it do? Did it tell us anything new about Ethan? No. We already knew Ethan had loved his wife. We already knew he cared about Ilsa. It did absolutely nothing. Like, there's no purpose to that scene. You could have taken that out. It would have changed absolutely nothing with the story, would have changed absolutely nothing with the characters. It was just there to give us information that we already knew and we already had from the prior movies. So there were things like that. That's just an example of some filler and some stuff in this movie that tried to make the runtime go longer than it needed to. So yeah, and I felt like the movie could be condensed. There was a few scenes in there that could have been taken out. Again, the scene with Ilsa and Ethan when they're meeting in the garden. Again, nothing in that scene that we needed. No new information that we couldn't have figured out on our own, that we didn't already have. Just there for more filler. There's the scene that, like, with that blonde chick, I forget her character's name. She's in charge of one of the agencies or whatever. She has this dialogue scene with Ethan, and she kisses him. To me, that was like, okay, that didn't make sense. It didn't make sense that her character would do that. I don't buy that her character would do that. To me, that was just Tom Cruise trying to get another kiss in with another pretty actress that he was probably attracted to. So yeah, just there were certain scenes in this movie that I don't think were needed. You could have cut them out. You would have had the same story, the same plot, the same characters doing the same things. So yeah, repetitiveness is the key word here to describe this film. It's very repetitive. There's nothing new brought to the table. And although I do like Henry Cavill's performance as Walker, I don't think that the character was well written. They could have essentially left Solomon Lane out of the story and just had his character be the lead antagonist character in this movie. And they could have done a lot more with that character and actually made him seem like a genuine threat. He didn't seem like a genuine threat. Like he, there was never a moment in the film, even the first time I watched it in the theater, there was never a moment in this film where I thought Ethan couldn't take him. Like when they finally fought at the end, I was like, Ethan's gonna win. Like there's nothing that they've done with this character to make me think that this character poses any real threat to Ethan. So yeah, I like the performance by Cavill, but I think the character wasn't written very well. Could have been used better. So there you go, guys. Those are my thoughts on the film. You may feel differently, and that's totally fine. Let me know your thoughts on this film. My overall rating here, I give this one 2.5 stars. I think it's a decent film. The stuff I liked about it, I did really like about it, but the things that bothered me really bothered me. I really felt a lot of those negatives in this film. Really felt the repetitiveness, and not having Jeremy Renner there. It hurt my viewing experience, and all the other negatives that I talked about. They affected my viewing experience with this movie. So I gotta say it's gone down for me from the first time I saw it. Upon this previous watch for this review, I think it sits here 2.5 stars. Still not a bad film, but it's not the good film that I initially thought it was after my first viewing. So 2.5 stars out of 5 for me. A decent film. Has some good stuff, has some bad stuff, but that's my overall thoughts on MI6 Fallout. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you for watching. And as always, until next time, you better kick it and rock on.